Hi everybody, it's Neil Schusterman with a new story for you. This is a more recent story. This one was in a short story collection put together by Shaun David Hutchinson called Violent Ends. And here's a picture of the cover of the book. The idea that Shaun came up with was a story about a school shooting, but not about the shooting. Basically what he did was gave 17 different writers the basic facts of the situation. And each of them was to tell a different story surrounding it. So none of it is actually about the shooting, but some are about the friends of the kid, the family life that the kid had. And each one was a completely different point of view, trying to understand the psychology of someone who would do such a thing, and what leads up to it and what happens in the aftermath rather than the actual event. It's a brilliant book, and I suggest that everyone read it. The story that I was involved with, I actually co-wrote with my son Brendan, and it's called Presumed Destroyed, and it's from a very unique point of view. You may have seen the story that I had written in the first in this series of readings called Number 2, which was from the point of view of a number 2 pencil. We thought we would take a similar idea in terms of what the point of view of this story would be. So here it is, Presumed Destroyed. Presumed Destroyed by Neil and Brendan Schusterman. I am not defective. I am not malformed. My imperfections are entirely cosmetic. A discoloration in the steel along my handle, a vein slightly lighter, mildly less tempered than the rest of me. But my barrel, my chamber, my trigger and hammer are unmarred. My action is every bit as precise as any other. And yet, I was separated from my siblings, sorted into a pile of discards. You cannot know the misery of being deemed unworthy of one's purpose, even before knowing what that purpose might be. I was tossed into a holding crate, doomed to be melted down, resmelted into that angry, bright liquid from which I was forged, destined to lose my identity in the fiery melting pot. This was to be my fate, but it didn't happen that way. Instead, I was saved. It was not out of compassion. No, nothing so selfless. I was saved out of greed. A worker in the factory whom I did not know and did not care to know stole away with my crate. All of us relegated for the furnace were instead offered for sale in a dark room to a shadowy man. See what I've brought you? There are more than 24 here. Yes, 24 substandard pistols. Minor flaws, that's all. I have a reputation. So only take the best of them. Fine. I'll give you 40 apiece. 75. 50. My final offer. Take 10 of them, and you can have a deal. Agreed. The shadowy man was the first to hold me in his poorly manicured hand, but he never pulled my trigger. I was nothing but a commodity to him, and he was merely a middleman to my destiny. I was smuggled on a long journey in darkness to a place far different from where I was forged. Plenty of time to wonder what I'd be used for. I knew the possibilities were endless. I come from a family of both fame and infamy. Distant cousins fought wars, bringing both devastation and freedom. Some kept the peace in the streets of cities, but were also abused by those sworn to protect. I tried to imagine the sort of hand I would fall into, and what purpose that hand would have for me. In the end, I was sold in a filthy alley, a quick, quiet cash deal, but at least I now belonged to someone. My first owner was a man of brutal camaraderie. I never knew the name of his gang, only that he belonged to one. From the moment he held me, I knew what I was to him. A symbol, an icon of his manhood, of his pride, of his ascension from impoverished mediocrity. To him, I was a ticket to greatness. He would test the speed of his draw to an empty room. He would show me to his friends, bragging, and he would keep me loaded. There was always a bullet in the gullet of my chamber, lodged there, choking and heavy in that penultimate position, awaiting the act, my one true function. I understood him all too well. He had passion, but it left me cold, for it was a careless passion. He believed my power to be his own, and he took it for granted. On the rare times he fired me, it was a pointless act, such as the time he aimed me upward on New Year's Eve in a vain attempt to pierce the sky. He pulled the trigger with such random, reckless abandon, I felt only shame. Do not misunderstand. I didn't hate him. I pitied him, though. He thought my presence in his life would bring him respect, but how could it when his own actions engendered such disrespect? Then, in a moment of weakness, he resorted to crime. A store of convenience in the pre-dawn hours of a violent summer storm. The clerk seemed defiant rather than compliant when he saw me. Calm down, kid. Put that gun away. No one's going to get hurt. Shut the hell up, old man. Just give me everything you got in there. You don't want to do this. I said shut it. Do I look like I'm playing around? Give me all the money. I felt hot in his hand. His sweat conducted his nervousness like electricity, and it empowered me. I felt alive, born anew, and yet disgusted by the feeling. Was this my purpose? Was this it? So compelling, yet so ignoble? I could feel his adrenaline as if it was my own. I could feel the fear on the other side of the barrel, too. But I could feel something else. Something like experience. And it was not the experience of my owner. Hold on a moment. Just let me get the register open. What are you doing? Stand up straight, old man. And just like that, the tables turned. A standoff. I could see the gun the man was holding. A Desert Eagle .50 caliber. It was a beautiful weapon which made me feel inadequate, inferior. It was as if that gun was mocking me, laughing at me. The shame of being used for a lowly heist was replaced by the embarrassment of being bested. Whoa, man, take it easy. I could feel my owner's cowardice. It had always been there. His bravado was just a thin veneer slathered across it like cheap paint on an old revolver. He was having second thoughts about this whole thing. Was I failing him, or was he failing me? I could not provide him what he wanted. I could not bring him true respect, and he could not give me a purpose. In a moment, he faltered, lowering me just a bit, and my rival, the Desert Eagle, took its cue to shame me once more, for a weapon like that is all muscle and no remorse. The shot rang out like cannon fire, and it burst into my owner's arm. He swore and cursed as he bled, but he still held me, cradled me. He ran, bursting through the door, setting off the convenience store's disturbingly cheery electronic doorbell. The clerk didn't even bother to yell at us. We ran through the rainy streets. Cars whizzed by. People ignored the wounded man. I was shrouded in darkness as he had stuffed me in his pocket, but I could feel his broken manhood, his lost dreams. When we got home, he closed me into a toolbox like a coffin, and I sat there for months. Time faded with no way to measure the days in the darkness. Such was my existence. And in time, I came to believe it had no purpose, no reason to be. The prospect filled me with lethargic despair. Then, after many months, perhaps years, he opened my steel sarcophagus, reached in, and pulled me out. His wound had healed, but I sensed in him a scar of firm resolve. He had a new intention for me, but it confused me, because I also sensed that he would never fire me again. He slipped me into a pocket filled with crumpled dollars and stray coins. Small bills and spare change speak of such shallow, trivial things. What they have been spent on, or the wallets and purses they have known. Their chatter annoyed me, and it made me wish he would spend them frivolously so I could be rid of them. As it turned out, he was far more interested in finding them companions than he was in me. He took me out in an alley, perhaps the same one in which he purchased me, and, as he held me up to show me off, I realized the truth. I was about to change hands. That bullet which pierced my first owner's arm, in a way, tore open a new future for me. For now I would pass into another's possession. Who shall own me? I wondered. And for what purpose? Would I be used for a family's protection? Would I fire upon coyotes or other scavengers? Or would I be put on a pedestal in a collection to be revered as a work of art? Okay, I got the money you asked for, right here. Good. You came alone? Yeah, of course, just like you said. Good. Take it, kid. I hope it brings you more luck than it did me. And now, in the faint light of the familiar alley, I am thrust into the hands of my new owner, and I am reborn. Into the life of an angry, frightened boy. As the boy holds me in his cold, shaking hand, I know that he's different. I feel an unnameable pain in him, the kind that ricochets so quickly through one's soul it cannot be caught, only pursued with increasing desperation. In him, I feel deeper emotions than I ever knew existed, a blinding spectrum of feelings my previous owner only scraped the surface of. He stuffs me into his coat pocket. I couldn't be more snug if I were in a holster. The coat is snug on him as well, as if it's several years old and he has outgrown it, but no one has bothered to get him a new one. Or perhaps he's the one holding on to this thread of an earlier time, a time before he felt the need to have me in his pocket. I feel safe here, and yet not. I hear my first owner run off and I never hear him again. I never see him again. The boy runs in the opposite direction. I long to comfort him, to soothe the rawness of his wounds. They are not like bullet wounds. Those are easy to see and define. Gun wounds are not subtle or deceptive. For more than anything, my kind is honest, even in dishonest hands. We speak in plain and simple terms. There is nothing ambiguous about a gun. But the boy's wounds are of a different kind. Intangible, hidden, even from himself. And they are deep. I am not privy to the experience of his life that brought him to this moment. We weapons are not blessed with a historical perspective on the lives we enter. We exist in the moment. We sense deeply the searing now. And this boy's now is filled with minds and monsters. I ride home in his car, nestled in the glove compartment. I come to know him even more as I lay among the detritus of his life. A forgotten theme park pass, a parking violation he's afraid to show to his parents, a cherry chapstick that melts by day and solidifies by night, a folded envelope of school pictures that he doesn't want to keep but can't bring himself to throw away. They all lay silently, for these things have nothing left to say to anyone. Here begins my deep desire to truly understand him, for only then can I hope to quell the demons that so torment him. When the boy gets home, he takes me out again. He holds me tightly in those first few hours, extending me outward, his arms stiff, squinting one eye and pointing me at the wall. He says nothing. I hear nothing but a television from the other room. But the boy's hand feels so comforting. I relax and let him hold me. And I know in that moment that I will not be used today, but that I will be used. He moves me from location to location, hiding place to hiding place within his car. I am kept beneath the driver's seat, then in a shoebox in the trunk, then wedged in the gap beneath the spare tire. When he does take me out, it's not to wave me in a show of bravado. It is merely to regard me, to take me in from every angle, to study me with eyes so intense it would make me blush if I were able. He shows me to no one, and I am his secret. Finally, he brings me closer, deeper into his life. He moves me from the car into his sock drawer, a soft, warm place. It becomes my home. When he transfers me this time, there is something different about him. It excites me. I know that the day I will be used is near. My days pass easily now, filled with muted anticipation. Surely I am more to him than an object in a drawer. But weeks pass. Since the day he put me in the sock drawer, I have never been out of this house. I have become a domesticated thing, a pet waiting in silence for the return of my master. Some days he ignores me, others he feeds me with his attention. I grow warm and grateful in his grasp. Once, only once, he sleeps with me beneath his pillow, and I am proud to be a protector of his dreams. While my first owner once practiced the speed of his draw in the mirror, the boy draws me, but in a very different way, with pencil and paper. With his door locked, he leaves me perched on his desk, unloaded, always unloaded, and proceeds to sketch me. I am his model, and he captures me in that drawing, if not my weight and density, at least my personality, my striking profile. Then, to my absolute surprise, he hangs the picture on the refrigerator like a child. I want his mother to look deeper when she sees it, to question it. Instead, she is just annoyed. I don't like it, Kirby. It's just a drawing. Why would you draw such a thing? I don't know. I just felt like it. She doesn't see me there, the edge of my grip sticking out of the pocket of his hoodie like a dare. I'm still unloaded, but dangerous all the same. Could you maybe draw something a little less bleak? How about a fighter jet? Sure. Much more deadly than a pistol, but hey, if it makes you happy. And if she were to see me in the moment, what then? Surely I'd be removed from the boy's presence, and although the thought brings me great sadness and even greater anxiety, if my removal can ease his sorrow, perhaps it will be for the best. I grow guilty in these moments. I feed off of his own guilt and her worry. I feel worthless, unneeded, alone. I feel what Kirby feels. But she doesn't see me. She doesn't even know to look. To her, a drawing is a drawing, and kids draw guns and battles and other violent things. They play games of graphic carnage and go on to lead productive, normal lives. She does not see that today a gun really is a gun. Kirby leaves the kitchen, returning to the disheveled sanctuary of his room, where he tears the picture to shreds and commences to draw a fighter jet blowing apart a defenseless town. A day comes when I am once more freed from the sock drawer. Kirby handles me carefully and aims me like he did the first day he bought me. Then he stuffs me in his snug pocket, and before long we are running through the streets, just the two of us, moving to the cadence of his drumming heart. I hear him racing upstairs. The cold wind brushes by, and I feel as if I am on top of a mountain. He pulls me out, and I see that in a way, it is a mountain, a corporate mountain, the mountain of the human machine. We stand on top of an office building, and he stands near the edge. He holds me out in cold hands, just over the edge, but I know he will not drop me. There is a wild excitement in him, but behind that is that pain I feel every time he holds me. It's stronger here, unbearable. I want to deny it and exist in his excitement, but I know I can't. The two emotions go hand in hand. Then he kneels down and looks over the edge of the building. A supermarket is across the way, where dozens of shoppers moving to and from their cars. Carts rattle. He takes an aim at an old man making his way across the street. He pulls the trigger. Click. Take that. The man continues across the street, none the wiser. Kirby aims again, this time at a teenage employee struggling to wrangle carts. You're toast, asshole. Click. My click is empty. All my bullets are back in the drawer, and I am glad. I am glad that this game can ease Kirby's pain. Next, a middle-aged man fumbling with his keys. Click. 3 teens sneaking beer out of the market. Click, click, click. Serves you right. Yes, the game eases his pain, but not enough. It's like trying to bail water from a sinking, shotgun-blasted boat. With each pull of my trigger, there's even greater longing in him, greater need to carve some sort of retribution out of the world. Hey, you can't be up here. A security guard has come onto the roof. He doesn't see me at this angle. He only sees Kirby standing there. I feel Kirby's sudden wish that the gun was loaded. I feel his intent. I feel him cursing that he did not bring bullets, and I feel myself being quickly stuffed back into his jacket as Kirby turns around in one fluid motion. What's the problem? I'm just taking in the view. You gotta get down from here, son. You're not allowed up here. Screw you. My uncle works for this company. I don't care if he's the president. Now get the hell off this roof before I call the cops. I feel a knot of fear in Kirby's stomach. He takes off, and soon I am home, once more nestled among white socks. Alone again, I have time to ponder what Kirby has done with me today, what it all meant. I have been in human hands enough to glean more than just the powdery residual of right and wrong. I have grown to feel things beyond what was intended. A gun should feel a need to be fired, nothing more. And yet I find myself feeling a growing concern for the boy who wields me. If the gun was loaded, would he have shot the guard? Would he have shot the shoppers? Or is it truly just a game to him, a reality game? When does reality start for him? Is it when the bullets go into my chamber? Is that when it becomes real for him? Or will it still be just a game? I see in my mind's eye the security guard lying dead in a pool of blood and Kirby standing over him holding me to the side. I see him dropping me and running off. I do not want to be abandoned, but I also don't want to abandon him. There must be another way this can end. There must be, but I'm just not wise enough to see it. For 7 days he keeps me in the back of his sock drawer, ignoring me, perhaps denying my presence. I wonder if his own actions spooked him, if he has come to terms with what has happened on the roof. I picture him growing older, keeping me as a trophy, firing me at a shooting range. Years from now, teaching his children about me, how to use me, what I am, how dangerous I can be in the wrong hands. But even as I think about this, I know the wrong hands may be his. I bury my thoughts in a casing of denial, and when he takes me out again, I realize he's encased himself in denial as well. A denial of what happened on the roof, of his own self, his own future, and an inability to find a new one. Today he does something he's never done before. He offers me to someone else. A girl with a boy's name, a friend. I didn't know he had any. I am relieved. I am jealous. I am ashamed of my jealousy. He would have her use me to defend herself, and I think for a moment that I will change hands once again. My destiny will rebound onto a different course. But no, she refuses. He puts me away. He takes me home. But the following day, he takes me out again, and this time he does something else he's never done before. He loads me with a single bullet. Something happened today. I don't know what it is. Something to his friend, perhaps. Whatever it is, it's tipped the boy off his delicate balance. I can almost feel him falling as he loads that bullet. I know what he plans to do. There's only one reason to load a single bullet into the chamber of a handgun. And for all the power I have, I know I cannot stop him. And for once, I wish I truly was defective, that my hammer would miss the mark or shatter before striking the shell. I am powerless within my own power. His hand is colder than it was on the day he bought me. His hand shakes. His chest heaves with sobs. Lay me down, I plead. Lay me down and walk away. Call your parents to the room. Let them see me. Let them know. There is nothing ambiguous about a gun. If they see me, they will finally tear through their own denial and pull you in from this icy ledge. But he calls no one. He just closes his eyes. Then he presses the end of my barrel to his temple. I feel the pressure on my trigger, and I try to resist even though I know I can't. We stay like this forever. And then he jerks my barrel from his head, the bullet still in the chamber, unfired. His breathing heavy and uneven, as if he has just come up from deep underwater. He places me down on the table, staring at me as if I've somehow betrayed him. Then quickly, he puts me away. Not in the sock drawer, but in another shoebox, in the closet, underneath a dozen other things. He hides me not just from others this time, but from himself. And I am grateful. I think it's over. I think whatever crisis brought him to the brink has subsided and his climb to a better place has begun. He may forget me, I think, or sell me, or save me for some nobler purpose in a nobler time in his life. I can wait for that. Guns are notoriously patient. But I am not forgotten. The next day he comes for me once more, to hold me, to ponder me, this time in an opaque sort of numbness. I cannot see through the veil of his thoughts today, but I do know that his intentions are no longer turned inward. I sense such a weariness in his soul now when he holds me. I channel from him a hopelessness heavier than all the weapons in the world. I want to tell him that this pain will pass, as all pain does, but even if I could tell him, I know he would not believe me and think that perhaps I am damaged, and I think that perhaps I am damaged after all, for the pressure of his despair is breaking me. But I hold together for him, for if I can hold together, perhaps he can too. Fire me, Kirby, I silently plead. Take me to target practice. Expel that pain with my bullets, shredding a paper target, an effigy of the world you've come to despise. Or better yet, hurl me into the sea. Let that singular act of rejection free you. I can rest forever satisfied, even as I rust on the ocean floor, if I know you are saved. If my true purpose is to fly from your hands in an affirmation of your own life, so be it. I can accept the sacrifice. But no, my purpose lies down a darker path, somewhere in the realm of the unthinkable. Now, when he holds me, I sense a decision has been made, for he grasps me with firm resolve. He loads my full clip. He slips me into his pocket. He says no goodbyes as he leaves the house this morning. He doesn't even turn back to look at it one last time. He drives to school with the single-minded determination of a torpedo. Then, leaving his car idling in the red zone, he walks toward the building with ballistic focus, his footfall steady, measured, and relentless. And I know, beyond the shadow of any doubt, that on this day, in this place, in these hands, I will meet my destiny. And I am terrified.